After a rough loss last night to the Boston Celtics, the Dallas Mavericks are down 0-3 in the NBA Finals. And even though we're down, we are not out. I understand that no team has ever came back from being down 0-3 in the playoffs, let alone the finals. But if it's going to happen, why not happen to us? As the Dallas Mavericks have seemed to improve game over game, slowly but surely fixing some of our problems where some other problems do seem to pop up. But things could change. A lot of things could happen between today and tomorrow. And if we could win game 4, then we got a series. We're still alive. And in this video, we're going to break some of those things down, as well as we have quotes from Luka Doncic. We have quotes from Jalen Brunson, as well as people in the media like Brian Windhorst and what they think about what's going on. How's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavs Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. Before we start with today's video, if you guys could just drop a like on this video, let's try to get to like 300 likes. I'd appreciate it greatly. But like I said in the intro, we are down 0-3 in the playoffs, down 0-3 in the finals. We all saw what happened last night. It was a game where we had the lead in the beginning for the most part. We were up by as much as 10 plus. It got down to we were in the lead by just 1. We were changing leads back and forth with the Boston Celtics. Third quarter came. Things didn't go the way planned. We dug ourselves a hole. But early in the fourth quarter, we went on a 20-2 run. We were fighting back. We were down by as much as 2 points. 2-point game. Just trying to fight back. Just trying to claw our ways back into this series, back into this game. Jason Kidd made some questionable decisions, calling a timeout. Luka Doncic racked up a bunch of fouls. I think he got 4 fouls in the fourth quarter that led up to his 6th foul where he did get fouled out the game. Things fell apart. We lost the game. We're down 0-3. We're looking to fight back in game 4. But today it seems like a lot of people have a lot to say about Luka Doncic. A lot of people seem to be turning their backs on him. There are glaring issues that we will talk about and that we will look at. That Luka Doncic just seems to be going back into old habits of just complaining to the refs, not getting back on defense. And we all know he's hurt. We understand. I'll get that out the way. Luka Doncic is hurt. He's been hurt the whole playoffs. However, that just can't be the excuse anymore. That cannot be the excuse for bad play. That cannot be the excuse for arguing with the refs and just knocking back on defense and letting your team deal with the fast break while you're just falling on the floor trying to bait for fouls. If it didn't work the first few times, what made you think continuing to do it late in the fourth was going to do? A lot of just lapse in judgment, not just from Luka Doncic, but from the rest of the team. Because Luka and Kyrie, at least they combined for a good bit of points, the majority of the team's points, where PJ Washington was our third leading scorer with about 11 points himself, and no one else on the team had double digits. The rest of the team just didn't show up. Point blank period. Kyrie had a great game. He dropped 35 points. Luka Doncic, before fouling out, he had a good game offensively, at least. His defense was questionable, of course. PJ had some good shots, hit a few threes in the fourth quarter, but no one else seemed to step up. No one else seemed to just be able to come ready and help the team win this game. But let's break this down just a little bit right here. Here are the Boston's offensive rating numbers by playoff round. In the first round, their offensive rating was 117.7. In the second round, it was 120.2. In the conference finals, it was 121, but in the finals, it was their lowest at 113.6. Dallas is doing a better job defensively than anyone else in the playoffs. It's the Celtics' shot quality that's killing them. Now, we can talk about our defense. We can talk about our lack of defense. And I understand Luka Doncic, a lot of guys are just blowing right past him. They're able to get the easy bucket. Luka's just kind of being a traffic cone to an extent. I'm not trying to rag on Luka because there were moments in the playoffs where Luka's defense was phenomenal. He was great. We know what Luka Doncic looks like when he's actually trying on defense. But to just paint it clearly, Luka's defense has not been that good in the finals. Not the rest of the playoffs. The first 3 rounds, I would argue it was pretty good defense. But as of now, in the first 3 games of the finals, his defense has been bad. But overall, the team's defense has been pretty good. We've been able to hold the Boston Celtics to just a little bit over 100 points minus game 1. Games 2 and 3, our defense definitely stepped up. Our offense stepped up. It obviously just wasn't enough. And like the post said, it's the Celtics shot quality that's killing them. And a lot of people have had a lot to say about Luka Doncic today, and it feels like not just the fans, because obviously you'll have people that want to just criticize and point fingers and find who to blame. I've seen people blame Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., of course. We talked about Tim Hardaway Jr. in our last video. To even Jason Kidd, and rightfully so. Jason Kidd had that really odd timeout where we were on a 22 run and the challenges. And yes, it was a lapse of judgment across the board. I've said it before, you win as a team and you lose as a team. But the media, as we know, hasn't been so kind to the Dallas Mavericks. And Brian Windhorst had a lot to say. And then here's an article that kind of summarizes what he said after yesterday's loss. He said, "I'm standing here in the Mavericks tunnel. Over there is a Celtics tunnel. That's where the winners are," said Windhorst. "If Luka is ever going to be a winner coming out of this tunnel here, he's going to have to use what happened in this finals as a learning experience. His defensive performance is unacceptable. He's a hole on the court. The Celtics are attacking him. They are ahead in this series because they've attacked him defensively, he continued. And you've got a situation here where Luka is complaining about officiating. They have begged him. They have talked with him. They have pleaded with him. He's costing his team because of how he treats the officials. Doncic drew 4 fouls in the fourth quarter, with his frustration growing after each call, culminating with the sixth, in which he emphatically called for Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd to challenge it, only for Dallas to lose the ensuing challenge. Now, to break down this quote right here, there are some things that I do agree with Brian Windhorst, although Brian Windhorst is not a fan of Luka Doncic, so a lot of what he says, take it with a grain of salt and go about your day. But to say that Luka Doncic, if he's ever going to be a winner coming out of this tunnel here, you've got to use what happened in the finals as a learning experience. I totally agree. Things that happen in the finals, especially in your first trip to the finals, especially if you fail, it's a learning experience. Failure can be your greatest teacher. And the things that we have done right and things that we've done wrong will help shape this team in the future. But for right now, it's just a rough moment. I mean, the Boston Celtics are the number one team in the league. I'll give them all props. They are a great team. A lot of people just didn't want to see them win, so they were all siding for the Mavericks. And to be fair, the Boston Celtics are the better team. They were the better team in the regular season, and they show that they are the better team in the playoffs. But if the Dallas Mavericks are going to have just any shot to keep this competitive, there are problems that need to be addressed. And like what Brian Windhorst said, complain to the officials. I can't remember the last time Luka Doncic argued with the ref, and then the ref's like, okay, yeah, Luka, I'll change the calls. That's got to change. And going forward after this season, that's got to be something that Luka just has to fix. The arguing with the refs, the not getting back on defense, the foul baiting and falling down and just not really getting up, not moving with a sense of purpose. Again, I understand he is injured. But those are the small things that can really affect the team, that can really just create a hole on our offense and even our defense that will lead to a loss. So what Brian Windhorst says here, it's not all rude and wrong. I get what he's trying to say, although Luka's 25. This team is fairly young. We will be back. If you don't think we'll be back, that's totally fine, because I believe in this team wholeheartedly that they have all the tools that they need to be right back where they were this year in the upcoming years. Luka Doncic is 25. It's okay that he hasn't won a championship yet. We've seen the Boston Celtics, 2 years ago against the Golden State Warriors? They were in the same situation that we were. All it takes is a team that can come together, learn from their mistakes, grow together, get better, and we'll be right back. But what Brian Windhorst says here, like I said, I agree with some of what he's saying. Some of it, like I said, it's Brian Windhorst. But this right here, talking about just people blowing by Luka Doncic while Luka's on defense, he's just a traffic cone, a turnstile. Let's take a look at here, because ESPN decided to make a whole graphic. The highest blow-by percentage allowed on drives in a series. Minimum 10 drives per game defended in the last 10 years. For Luka Doncic against the Celtics, 67.7%. They're blowing by him in scoring on 67% of their drives. In the Clippers series, it was 65%. And in the Thunder, it was 59%. Luka is top 3 on all of these. Number 1 against the Clippers, highest percent against the Celtics, highest percent against the Thunder. It's rough. And you could argue that this graphic doesn't really paint the picture. He's injured. I get that. Luka Doncic is a good defender when he tries to be. You could argue that Luka tries to take breaks on defense, and I get it. We can go back and forth about it. But the person who posted says the Mavericks have a 107 defensive rating with Luka Doncic on the court in the finals. That would rank number 1 in the regular season and number 3 in the playoffs. This narrative is being overblown. There's a lot that goes into this. So you can look at by the numbers, but you can look at other numbers as well. Our defense is not that bad. The Boston Celtics just has a much better offense. Props to them. They are a great team. We're not up against the Detroit Pistons or the Washington Wizards. We're up against the number 1 team in the league. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to earn your keep. This is all a learning experience. But things can change. All of this can change in Game 4. We can make the right adjustments. There was a report earlier today that the Mavericks didn't participate in practice, and instead, Jason Kidd had them focus on film. Obviously pointing out their flaws, showing them where their lapse of judgment was, trying to get the fine details tuned up, because Game 4 is a must-win game, as if every game going forward is also a must-win game. The Dallas Mavericks are down, but they're not out just yet. I'll still believe until the final buzzer we can make the right changes, and it starts with just our defense continuing to be great on defense like we've been doing, continuing to hit good shots, getting good looks on those shots. And honestly, Jason Kidd's got to look at his own coaching staff and talk about their rotations, because Dante Exum, in only a few minutes of playing time yesterday, looked pretty good in my opinion. Probably the best he's looked in a short little spurt of time, all playoffs, or at least all finals. But you want to give Tim Hardaway Jr. 19 minutes? We talked about in the last vid. Tim Hardaway Jr. gave you nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's a lot of people that defended Tim Hardaway Jr. I've seen the comment section. I've been online. I see what people are saying. And I'm not defending the man. We can talk about trades and who we need to go after once the playoffs are over. We're not going to talk about that just yet. But Tim Hardaway Jr. right now is unplayable. He gave you nothing. In 19 minutes, he couldn't even draw a foul. He couldn't even commit a foul. Tim Hardaway Jr. was unplayable, and those 19 minutes could have gone to Derrick Jones Jr., which Derrick Jones Jr. is a starter and played less minutes than Tim Hardaway Jr. Could have given those minutes to Jaden Hardy or Josh Green or Maxi Creepers, anybody but Tim Hardaway Jr. The rotations have to be better. We cannot be trying to experiment with rotations when we're down 0-3. Down 0-2 last night, down 0-3 now. The changes have to be made, but it's not impossible. Maybe improbable, but it's not impossible. The Dallas Mavericks are still in this, even down 0-3. We're still in this because we still have a fighting chance. We have a chance to do something that no other team has done. But to continue looking at what we got here, take this with a grain of salt. I thought it was pretty interesting, but a text from an anonymous NBA executive following tonight's game saying this is the problem with Luka. He can score at will, but when things get tough, it's about everything other than winning. He spends the whole game playing against the refs in a side game. Take it with a grain of salt, whether this is true or not. You can find some validity in this where we've seen Luka Doncic since his rookie year. It's been a very bad habit of him just arguing with the refs, knocking back on defense, just getting too mouthy. Sometimes it works for us, as we saw against the Clippers and we saw against the Thunder, and we saw against the Timberwolves. When Luka gets riled up, you see a next level of play where he's just talking his talk and good things happen. But we also see the opposite, where he talks a little bit too much and bad things happen, where he's now a liability on defense. He's not getting back. He's too busy arguing with the refs and not focused on the game. His defensive assignment loses him for the easy basket. But that needs to change, and I believe that we can make that happen. If we look at this right here, Luka Doncic admits he let Dallas down in Game 3, telling his teammates, my bad. You can't do that, especially in the NBA Finals. Getting fouled out, I think that was his first time ever getting fouled out in the playoffs, first time in the finals, getting fouled out in the finals. It's good that Luka Doncic can take accountability, but I think the majority of us would like to see the action on the court. He's taken a lot of accountability throughout the entire playoffs, shouldering a lot of the blame, and that's what your best player does. That's what your leader does. They don't try to shift blame or blame someone else. You take accountability for what you've done wrong and what you can do right moving forward. But if we don't see the action behind it, then these are just empty words. He goes on to say, I just really want to win. Sometimes I don't show it the right way. I got to do a better job showing it a different way. Luka Doncic on his mindset and how the Mavericks look to avoid a sweep. As long as the mindset is there, as long as we're saying the right things, as long as the guys are doing all that they need to do, then that's all you can really hope for. We're down 0-3. Like I said, no team has ever come back being down 0-3, but if it's going to be somebody, why not the Dallas Mavericks? Why not end our Cinderella story of a team that was as low as the 10th or the 11th seed? I think we're as low as the 10th seed earlier in the season. We make a bunch of roster changes. We have a bunch of injuries, and with a team that's been fully constructed for only about 4 or 5 months, they make it to the finals as the 5th seed. What better way to end that story as coming back from being down 0-3 for the first time in NBA history? I think that'll be pretty good. The odds of it don't look that good, but hey, until it happens, we got to have faith, we got to have hope, and whatever happens, we'll live with the results, and we'll deal with what we need to deal with in the offseason. But like I said in the intro, even Jalen Brunson was also asked about Luka Doncic, the officiating, and just the overall fairness or the unfairness of the critique of Luka Doncic. Jalen Brunson, if the criticism Luka Doncic faced in NBA Finals has been unfair, he said, I would say a lot, yes. I don't want to use the injury for him, but he's banged up. It's an emotional game. This is what everyone in this league has worked for. And I watched the little interview with Jalen Brunson, and he defends Luka Doncic. You know, he understands that at this level of the game, when you're that good of a player, when you've worked your whole life for this, we know Luka Doncic has been playing professional basketball since he was a kid. So he knows what it takes to win. He's won overseas already. He's accomplished certain things, but now he's in the NBA. This is his first time in the finals. This is the first time for a lot of people on our team in the finals. I think Luka Doncic, just from a play style, he's been able to put up good numbers in his first finals run, which is great. But the mindset is a whole nother thing. But I do agree with Jalen Brunson. I think the criticism has been a little bit unfair. But when you are the best player on your team, you will face the most criticism. I mean, we've seen it with Kyrie when he was in Brooklyn, when he was in Cleveland, when he was in Boston. We're seeing it with Luka Doncic time and time again. And I've made tons of videos of going over how the media just doesn't show us love. And it is what it is. But Jalen Brunson has a point here. It's an emotional game. Guys have worked their butts off their whole lives for this. And sometimes your emotions get the best of you. And hopefully the guys can just come together, make the most of it, go out in Game 4 in front of the home crowd and try to make this a series. If it's going to be a sweep, make it a gentleman's sweep. I'd hate to go down 4-0. But Adversity breeds greatness, and no matter what happens in this series, I believe in this team. I believe that we will be back in the upcoming years because we have the makings of a championship quality team. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for making this far to the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. Consider becoming a channel member. We are doing another giveaway starting in the beginning of July. The winner will be announced. And the only way to be a part of that giveaway is to become a channel member. But until next time, remember, drink water. Peace.